So good evening, everyone. Hope you are all doing good. Hope you are doing awesome. I want to especially welcome you to this night edition of Tech Talk. A special edition, actually. Our Tech Talk is usually once a month, and it's usually maybe every last week of the month. But this is a special one because it is not month ending, and we are bringing some special people, to talk about an amazing topic that we also looked at in our last Tech Talk. Last edition of Tech Talk was superb. Okay, we talked about the UX research, we talked about the foundational research and the like. So this one is also going to be a power-packed, power-packed Tech Talk, as we have on board a lot of wonderful people that are, they have been into tech for a while now, and they've been into UI UX, they've been into the field, they understand, they understand design thinking, they understand the design process, they understand, designing for for user. Okay, so these are people in person of, Makinde Belumi, please, if you are here, kindly signify, sir.
Yes, I'm online, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir. You are welcome. And then we have
Yes.
Ayuade Zainab. Can you just say hi also? Ayuade Zainab, can you please say hi?
Hi.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then Onje John, can you say hi?
Hi.
Yeah, thank you very much. So thank you for coming around for this special edition of Tech Talk. And for this particular Tech Talk, we'll be discussing a particular topic that says fundamentals of user experience design. Fundamentals of user experience design. And we'll be looking at, some key things. We'll be looking at, the UX design process, we'll be looking at the wireframe and low fidelity prototype, the UX research, the high fidelity design, and prototype and responsive web design. So it might not cover all, but we'll try to, as much as possible, cover some of the key things that are involved in user experience design. Okay, now quickly, I just did a brief introduction of our guests. I want the guests also to introduce themselves, to tell us who they have, what they are into, so we can get started properly. So starting from Makinde Belumi, please, can you tell us, a short thing about yourself before we dive deep into the fundamentals?
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
I am Makinde by name. I'm a graphic designer and I'm also a UI UX designer. I'm happy to be part of this Smart Tech 7.0. So I think that's what's up.
All right, thank you very much, sir. You are really welcome. We welcome you, Mr. Thank you, sir. And then Ayuade Zainab, can you quickly do a short intro of yourself too?
Hi, I'm Ayuade Zainab. I'm a UX interaction designer, and I'm so glad I'm part of the Tech Talk 7.0.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And then Onje John, can you just introduce yourself also?
Hi, everyone. My name is Onje John, and I'm a UI UX developer, designer, and I'm happy to be part of this great team and wonderful teams. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are welcome. You're welcome. So today we'll be looking at, without wasting our time today, we'll be looking at the fundamentals of user experience design. We'll just be talking about the fundamentals of user experience design. And then we would see that even in this era, if you're talking about one of the top skills to learn, top skills to acquire, we would have user experience design. Okay, now many years ago, there's nothing like, this aspect of tech did not really come to show face. Okay, many years ago, not until recently, and then we begin to see UI UX everywhere, and then we begin to see UI UX flying all about. And then we now see that it is a need to, study, it's the need to learn, it is a need to acquire, so that we can always, put the user, so we can understand how the user feel when they use a product, so we can design something really, really better for our user, something that will give them optimal happiness, the joy that users feel when they use a particular application, because it gives them what they really need. Okay, and that's all the whole essence of UI UX, so that we can meet the user's need, so that we can give the user exactly what they need. At that point where it is paining them regarding some app, we can really solve that problem for us. And that's why you see that UI UX is categorized into so many aspects. We see some people, they will call themselves UX writer. Why? Because a solution is also needed to bring out a content that will suit the user, or content that will portray perfectly what you are trying to sell or your own product. So you see other parts, we have the UX interaction designer also that will come up with interactions. This aspect of UI, the UI UX of a thing has also been categorized into so many, sorry that people now focus on each aspect, because at every aspect there's a need to do something. There's a need to provide solution. Okay, there's a need to do research and all that, and we also have UX researcher. So, but today we just want to talk about the fundamentals of user experience design. And on board, just like we have introduced, we have people that we are going to be talking about some key things regarding fundamentals of user experience design. We're going to be talking about a few things. And then quickly, I just first want us to talk about a particular aspect. Okay, I want us to first talk about a particular aspect of user experience design. And then the part I want us to first focus on is the part of user interface. Okay, now we what UI is all about. UI is just like the front end part that everyone can see. That's our user interface. But what is the primary goal of when you're talking about user interface? Okay, what are the primary goals of of a user interface? Okay, so quickly I'll be inviting our guests so they can share more light on us regarding what user interface is all about, and then the primary goals of having a good UI, the primary goal of user interface generally. So starting from Belumi Makinde, please can you explain to us what user interface is all about, and then the primary goals of user interface. Okay, we cannot hear you, sir. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you.
Okay, I'm very sorry. I muted the mic.
Okay, you're welcome, sir.
Okay, so UI interface. This is an interface that provides a clear and intuitive, visual representative of the system's functionality or a particular project that we are designing, and making it easy for users to navigate. So I can say that is a user interface, and it can be of different projects, whether you are designing a mobile app or you're designing a website, web applications. So the primary goal of a user interface is to enable users to interact with a product, system, or service efficiently. So that is the primary goal, because a designer must make sure that the interface that is designing, where the users or the target audience that are to use the particular system, must be able to use it effectively without any form of complaint. I think that's the primary goal of the user interface. Hello?
We can't hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's also hear from our UX interaction designer, you are designer. What are the goals? First, tell us about what user interface is all about, and then the goals of the goals of user interface. Ma, over to you, Ma Zaino Bayomide.
Okay, so a user interface is just a way users interact with computer software or any other device.
Okay.
So now the main goal is to create something, is to create an interface. The main goal of a user interface is to create something that users can interact with effectively and efficiently. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much, man. So the goal of user interface is just to create something for the user that they can interact with. Yeah, I think I would go with that, because the whole essence of UI is for you to be able to see the part that they really can see and the part that they can interact with. Thank you. And then over to you also, Mr. John. Can you tell us what user interface is all about, and then the goals of user interface?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
The primary goal of a user interface. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Yes.
I want to appreciate my colleagues for all that they have said. Thank you very much.
Okay.
The primary goal of a user interface is majorly to make users interaction with a system or application with a system or application in an effective way, so that it can be efficient and enjoyable.
Okay, thank you very much. So the goal
Yes,
is
sir.
just to create something that people can interact with. So thank you very much for that, sir. Okay, so that's what UI is all about. Okay, so when we're dealing with UI, when we're dealing with user interface, the goal is just to create something that people can interact with, something that the user can interact with. Now, quickly, still on interface. Now, what are the principles that makes up good UI? Okay, when we're talking about user interface now, we have been able to establish that user interface is what the user can interact with, right? Now, what are the principles of good UI? How do we know that this is a good UI? So that we can, you can be able to come to conclusion that this is a good UI. What are the things that we need to see? What are the things that we need to, put in place? What are the things that we need to identify in a UI for us to be able to say that word, this is a good UI? Now, over to you, Mr. Pelumi. Please, can you just shed more light on it? How do you know? What are the principles of good UI, sir?
Yes, well, a good, okay, sir. I have like 4 to 5 points, or let me
Okay.
say principles,
Okay.
that when we see this, we know that this is a good UI design. And the first thing I'll be talking about is clarity.
Oh,
When
okay.
a UI interface has a clear and concise language, a clear language, a simple language that users can understand easily without taking dictionary and start checking up the meaning of what appears on their screen. So I think clarity is part of the principles of a good UI design. The consistency also matters a lot. The consistent design patterns, that is, whatever that appears in the first page must also go in line with what appears in the following pages. It must not be like using a kind of, let me give this as an example, using a type of interface showing on the first page, probably relating to a shoe background. And meanwhile, the project is mainly for shoe. And the following pages that comes along now showing a different thing entirely that makes it complex for users to comprehend or understand. I think that is a thing that a designer must notice. That's why I say that consistency, that design patterns that are a designer must follow, must be consistent. The patterns must be consistent, so that the first page must be in line with the second page, the third page, and the likes. Then the third thing I'll be talking about is the flexibility. You must be able to accommodate different users' needs and preferences. The users are different. We have different users. We can have up to like 5 million users using a particular system. Then our system, our project must be a kind of a flexible one, whereby it accommodates the needs of each user. Then the next thing is usability, easy to use and navigate. If you are using icon, you must make sure that the icon is more and easily relatable. When we are talking about home page now, the icon must be in form of home, so that users can understand that this is the home page. When we're talking about add videos, it must be in form of a video icon, and there must be a kind of plus in between it, so as to let users know that this is what to add videos. And those are the things that the designer needs to consider. And those are, I can say, those are the principles of a good UI design. So I'll be stopping here, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. The principles of good UI. Okay, number one, from the things you say clarity, consistency, flexibility, and usability.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the aspect of consistency, I would really go with that, because there must be consistent in your design. You can't just come here, use another thing, come to another page, you are seeing another thing. You can see Google, for instance. Okay, every place you see Google app, you would be able to identify that this is Google from the way they've, been able to lay out all their sites, and then from the way they have been able to put their logo. So even anything that is, if you see Google Photos now, when you see Google Photos, you can even tell this is for Google. When you see the icon, even to where you want to speak, you will see that this is from Google, because it's just, branded with their color, branded. So there's a level of consistency, so that any site you visit, even if they did not tell you this is Google, you'll be able to pinpoint, you'll be able to tell that this is Google. Yeah, the aspect of clarity also, where you are so sure of, okay, this is what I really want to portray to the people. And then the aspect of usability also, where the most, the things you are using, like your icons, like your interaction, they must be usable, and they must really correlate with what you are really trying to portray. So thank you very much for that, sir. Now, can we have you also, Mr. John? What are the principles of, good UI? How do we identify a good UI from you? Over to you, Mr. John, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Makinde. I really appreciate you. Quality of a principles, some of the other principles of a good UI design is that a good UI design must be efficient. It must be efficient. That is minimizing user effort to complete a task. So when designing a UI UX, we must consider the efficiency in all aspects, because if we do not consider that and all other things are intact, it is still not good. It is still not good enough. And then another point I have here is feedback. We must create a room for responses from users interaction. And then, like my brother said, he mentioned consistency. The aspect of consistency is very, very important. And then that of clarity, where a good UI UX must be clear enough, and then making information too easy to understand. That is our UI UX. It must be clear enough such that all the informations are very easy to understand. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Sam. How about you, Ms. Ayo Adiz? I know. Can you tell us principles of good UI, ma?
Yes, sir. So yeah, as they talked about consistency across your design is very, very important. Like your fonts, your colors, icons, they must not change across the design. So we also have accessibility. You should design for everybody, not just some particular type of users. Then also simplicity. You should try to keep it simple. You should try to keep it as simple as possible. No too much complex things. Not that when your users are using this particular website, they're like, I don't understand this, I don't get this. You have to keep it very simple for them.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So I think I've been able to get, the aspect of accessibility. You must try to put the users in mind, and then you must also be able to design something that will be accessible by all type of, all people, whether people with disability or, various set of people. You must be able to design for them. So thank you very much for that. So we've been able to look at, so these are things that makes up, good UI. So these are things that we look at and know that, no, this is a good UI: the clarity, the consistency, the usability, the flexibility, efficiency, feedback. You must also, from what Mr. John said, is that we must also get feedback. Sometimes you need to hear that. That's why we need to carry out research, so that we can know. That's the design research. So we can know if what we designed is, actually meeting the need of what people are requesting for at that moment. So thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. Now, quickly, there's this thing that people used to say. They will say UI is different from UX, UX is different from UI. So quickly, I just want you to, share some things for us regarding, we've talked about UI, that it is the interface. Now, let's also talk about UX in particular also. So if I'm to ask, okay, let me just throw it to us now. What is UX in general? What is user experience? Okay, now Mr. Makinde, over to you, sir. What is user experience? Or user experience design? Okay.
Okay. Yes, user experience design, I will say it's a process, of creating products that provide a kind of meaningful experiences for users. It considers the user's need. You know, we've been talking about what the users need when we're talking about the UI interface, the primary goal of the user interface. I think the UI, the user experience is a process of creating that product that provides meaningful experiences for users. So that when users come to get access to your system, by the time they were checking it out and interacting with the system, they must be able to have a kind of good experience. They must be able to give good feedback. So I can say that is user experience, and it considers the user's needs, the behaviors, the motivations, and emotions to design a product that is intuitive, easy to use, and meets their needs. So that is a kind of explanation I can give to user experience.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, creating a product that meets the need of the user. Yeah, over to you, Mr. John. What is user experience design?
Okay, in addition to what Mr. Makindekbelumi has said, what I can say is that user experience focuses on creating the overall experiences of using a product, includes overall experiences of using a product. That's what user design is all about, such as the user research, the user flow, the wireframing, prototyping, and the testing aspect. Sir. Yes, sir. We can't hear you, sir.
So thank you very much for that. So it's more like, you know, the overall process, okay, of, you know, the steps that the user pass through while having, so that we can give them a product that is equitable, so we can give them a product that really, really solves their need. So thank you very much. So how about you, Miss, okay, I'm not sure she's here for now. Probably maybe our network is down. All right, probably our network is down. So that's just the overview of, you know, what user experience is all about. Now, quickly, without wasting any much of our time. So we've talked about the UI and then we've talked about the UX also. So can you now tell us the difference? Now, what's the difference between when we're talking about UI and then UX? So what's the difference between these two? Okay, over to you, Mr. Belumi. Okay.
Okay, so the difference between UI and UX.
Okay.
Yes, I only have just one difference for them that collates the whole differences.
Okay.
I would say UI focuses on visual representation and interactions, while the UX encompasses the broader user experience.
Okay. Okay, please, can you come again for that, sir? So we
I would
can
say
okay.
UI focuses on visual representation and interaction, interaction between the user and the system. While the UX, which is the user experience, that one encompasses the broader user's interface.
Okay. Okay, so what
user experience.
Okay. So that means UX, you know, encompass everything whole, while UI is just like, you know, the interface that we design. So how about you, Mr. John? How would you give us the difference between UI and UX?
Okay, thank you, sir. Like I said the other time, in UX, it focuses on creating the overall experiences of using the product. And I said product, including like the user research, the user flow, the wireframes, the prototyping and testing. Now, when we talk about the user interface now, user interface design, it focuses on creating the visual element of a product, but user experience focuses on creating the overall experiences of using a product, and then that of UI, it focuses on the creating visual element of a product, such as the layout, when we're talking about the typography, the color scheme, the icons, and then the buttons. by buttons. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So I think you've said it all, that it's UX is, it covers the overall experience of the user. Okay, why the UI just focus on, the interface, creating something that the user can relate with. So the UI itself is even in the UX, okay, so that when you are creating, when you want to create overall experience, the UI is also included, together with everything else that you are going to do, the research, the accessibility in mind, the creating something equitable. So all those things are encompassed inside of our UX design. Yeah. And then UI is just the interface. Thank you very much for that. Now, I want us to begin to round up now. Probably we can, have you some more time. But before we go, I want to, most of us, we've talked about, the accessibility. Okay. But when we are talking about accessibility, how do we approach designing for accessibility? In fact, what is, accessibility itself? I think most of us, we have talked about the accessibility, or some of us, but I want us to, buttress more on that accessibility aspect. So how do you approach designing for accessibility? Now, over to you, Mr. Belumi. How do you assess, or how do you approach designing for accessibility? Okay, Mr. Belumi, are you
Okay,
there,
okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir, it's the network, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah, your question says, how do we approach the design
Designing,
accessibility?
yes, sir.
Okay, I would say by following the inclusive design principles.
Okay.
We have a guidelines that we need to follow when it comes to design. So when you follow the inclusive design principles, then that is a kind of approach for a design accessibility. Then we can also conduct accessibility testing and auditing.
Okay.
When you conduct the testing as well and the auditing, I can say that is also an approach. We can say using clear and simple language. When I mentioned this earlier, that when you use clear and simple language, that even a child of 10 years old or 11 years old can easily understand. So I can see that's also a point. When you use a clear and simple language, providing alternative text for images and icons, this is a must. I would say this is a must, because there may be a case whereby one way or the other, users at their own ends may have one issue or the other, and the issues may come in form of network. Probably there is a bad network there, and the system is trying to load, but because of a lack of enough strength network signal, then the site was unable to load very well. Then some images won't load. That is why alternative text must be part of our images, so that when the image did not load, the alternative text will let the user know that, okay, even though I can't see this image, then this is what we was trying to load. Probably there is a photo of a boy playing ball. Then if the image cannot load, then there should be a kind of alternative text saying that a boy playing football, so that the users will be able to imagine that, okay, this photo can load, but we know what the content is all about. So that is providing alternative text for images and icons. Then ensuring color contrast and readability. You must make sure that the color you are using are a kind of balanced one. You don't just use color anyhow. We have some people who have a kind of issues with their eye. So people can't see bright colors like that. They prefer, even to the extent that they prefer reducing their phone's contrast to the lowest level. So you must consider those people too as well, because they must be able to interact with your system effectively without hindrances. And by the time you are unable to ensure color contrast and readability, then they will have one complaint or the other to give at the end of the day. So I can say these are the approach to design accessibility.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. You have said a lot regarding, accessibility. Like, what is accessibility itself? When we are talking about accessibility, what does it mean? It means making your design accessible to all. okay, accessible to everybody. Okay, and then when you are designing for something to be acceptable by everybody or to be accessible by everybody, there are some things that you need to put in place. And sincerely, you have talked about, most of them, like clear and simplicity. It must be very, very simple. Some things sometimes when you open an app and you see a lot of complex things, you might just say, no, I can't use this. But when it appears simple to the user, it attracts them, and they will have the feeling that there's a particular an app that they can interact with, or they can easily, catch up with, even when they begin to check the features of the app. Yeah. So I think I'll really go with that. And concerning the color combination also, yeah, that's a perfect one. You must also you must put, the way you are combining your color, just like you said, using bright colors. Some people, it might affect their eyes or thereabout. So I think all these things that you've said, there are things that we need to put into consideration if you really want to make your design accessible, okay, by a large number of people. All right. Now, Mr. John, also, can you, tell us some things about accessibility, sir?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Makinde-Pelumi, for your wonderful points. You have almost said it all. But one of the things I would want us to take note in designing for accessibility is the area of, you already mentioned it, he said that contrast and readability. That was when you talk about the color contrast. And then what I want to say, in the issue of readability, we must ensure when designing for accessibility that our text is very readable. Our text is readable. How do I mean? Such that our text must not be blurred. It must not be blurred. It must be clear, and it must be readable when designing for accessibility. And then another point that I have here with me is just the area of the keyboard navigation. The keyboard navigation, we make sure that the interface is navigable, via the keyboard to design for accessibility. And then the last point I have here, you already mentioned, you said text with accessibility tools. That's use tools like Wave or Axe. We using tools like Wave or Axe to ensure that what we are doing is very accessible to all. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful point also. So thank you. So those are things that we need to put into consideration if we want our design to be accessible by all. Okay, now quickly, I think our time is really fast spent. So sorry for taking your time. Now we just have, okay, I just want us to look at one thing before we move to the last part. Okay, so can you just explain the concept of design thinking? Okay, when we are talking about design thinking, most of everywhere I go, you see design thinking. So what is design thinking? And just give us the concept of design thinking, sir. Mr. Makinde, over to you, sir.
Okay, so design thinking, the concept of design thinking, I literally collate it up to 5. Like I round it up to 5. And the first one is understanding users' need and behavior.
Okay.
I call it empathize. When you understand users' need and behavior, then you'll be able to define the problem and goals. That is the second one. Defining the problems and goals. Then what comes in is now your idea, you ideate. And that is when you generate ideas and solutions to the problems and goals. And there are many ways in which you can get the problems and goals from the users. And that is by making research. That's when our UX research comes in. You making research before you start the designing process. And during the design, you making research as well before you finally finishing the project. And I can say that you generating ideas and solutions doesn't come without having the problems and the goals readily made, because you are attracting or you getting problems. That is when you can work up a solution. If there is no problem, there can be solution. So we have different ways in which we can get these problems by doing surveys, interviews, and the like. I'm working a particular project, and we have to send out a kind of survey to people to give responses. And from the response, we were able to see that there are some problems that most people do overlook, which few people were able to pick out. I'm having difficulties when it comes to this aspect. I'm unable to track my order. When I'm tracking my order, there will be a kind of, we have different problems being laid out, the pain points of the users. And that's when we can now say that we can work up a solution to what? To solve that particular problem. Then the next thing is you creating prototype for wireframing. We do the digital wireframing, the fidelity, high fidelity, and the low fidelity. And from here, we can prototype them for testing. You know, when you prototype them in a way whereby it works, that's when by the time the users, we have some groups of people that will test it. And when they were testing this thing, that's when you'll be able to know whether the system built is the solution built for the problem is actually working and is effective. So the prototyping is a major thing that we must note of. And the last thing I would say is the testing. You conduct the usability testing and gather feedbacks. That's why we say that before you can launch a particular system, you must test. And this testing will let you ascertain that you have already solved the problem and it is 100% effective. I think that is the design thinking process that I'm working with. So I can say I've already given you the answers to the question asked.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, you know, when we are talking about design thinking in general, design thinking is just, you know, the problem-solving approach that you use to develop innovative solution, the type of approach that you use to come up with, you know, a solution for a particular problem. And then from the things you've said, that number one, you need to understand users' needs and behavior. So these are the approach that we need to, you know, things that we need to pass through for us to come up with an innovative solution. So that's design thinking. And then you'll be able to talk about the, you know, to define problem and the goals, the prototype and the like. So all these things are things that we pass through so that we can come up with an innovative solution to the particular problem that we are looking at. Now, thank you very much for that. Now, Mr. John, do you have anything to say regarding design thinking also?
Mr. Makidekademi, thank you very much. You have said it all. But like you have said, sir, design thinking is just all about designing.
You're welcome, sir.
It's a user-centered approach to problem solving. That's the key point that we must take note, is a user-centered approach to problem solving. That is, we have to understand the user very well, because the project we want to do now, if we don't understand the users, the project can never be effective. So we must understand, take our time to ensure that we understand the project very well, understand the users very well, rather, I mean the users. We have to understand the user very well. So what I can say that design thinking is a user-centered approach to problem solving that involves understanding the user.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. And then, okay, that you must understand your user before you can come up with something, you know, because before you can even solve their problem, that means you must, you know, you must do your research, you know, do your prototype, define the problem and goal statements and the like. So thank you very much for that. Now, quickly on a final note, thank you for staying till now. I want to appreciate everyone. But on a final note, I want the you know, the speakers to talk about something. And then I want you to share your experience with you know, any project that you have worked on recently. Okay, so that, you know, you can enlighten, you know, others that are listening, and you can enlighten us regarding, you know, probably the steps that you follow to achieve, to solve a particular problem, or, you know, just tell us one or two experiences that you've had recently regarding working on a project. Now, over to you, Mr. Makindesa.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
There is a particular project that I'm working on. I'm not yet done with the project,
Okay.
but I have different experience so far, starting with the project. Then I would say the very first thing that comes in line was that the system I'm working on, there is a kind of previous systems that are already on ground. And the system I'm working on is not a new, you know, innovations. It has already been in existence. It's just that this system is trying to improve and solve a particular problem or the other that the other systems had. So this is about, okay, it's about a furniture business actually. Yes. So I sent out survey questions online so that people can give me responses, because we have other apps that people have been using, and I'm sure that they have different problems, their own pain points. And if I should keep this thing to myself, I know that I won't be able to get all the problems in there, because I'll just be thinking for myself alone. And meanwhile, other people also have their own ideas and different perspective for one thing that they've noticed about the previous systems that they've been using. So I threw the question out and people gave me different responses. And from these responses, I was able to get a background and a goal. Someone was giving me kind of one pinpoint from a particular user was like the person ordered online and she was unable to track down the order after being processed. The order used up to like 2 to 3 months. At the end of the day, the person was like, I'm unable to rely on the app again. I did not have trust in that particular app or the particular site, because she was unable to track the order that she has processed. And her mind wasn't stable. She was fidgeting. So I was able to get that problem. That means that the system I'll be creating must be able to solve that thing and must have a tracking order segment, whereby when users process or order for something online, they must be able to track it down, and they will be able to put their mind at rest that, okay, this is where my order has already been shipped from. This is so okay, has arrived in this particular country. Okay, it is now in this location. Okay, it remains 3 days before it comes down there. Okay, well, after that 3 days, someone will call me, and this thing is a particular thing that must be inside the system I'm creating. So I was able to get that through research. And the other thing is that when I was through the design solution, I was able to simplify the navigation and information architecture, because someone was even mentioning that there is a particular site she used, and that one is pepper fry, that it was too jam-packed, too much of information on on the pages, that she was just scrolling up and down, scrolling side, scrolling backward, too much of information. That means that the particular system that I'm building, I must make sure that there is a less, it must not be jam-packed. There must be clear and simple information, so that when people see it, they know what to do. They don't need to waste time. When they are on the app, they must use closely up to 2 to 3 minutes. They finish whatever they want to do, then they can leave the app without stressing themselves, without wasting time, data, burning of data and the likes. So that is what brought me down to my own design solution. I was able to simplify the navigation and the information architecture. I was able to even implement the plain and true design language and make it simple. When it is mattress, it is mattress. When it is chair, it is chair. When it is sofa, it is sofa. I did not use the big grammars for them, so that the users will not start taking dictionary or browsing it on their, what is the meaning of this one, and they are taking more time on the particular system. So those are the let me say the experience. Let me say my design experience so far, and the outcome, although I'm still yet to arrive at the final stage of the project, but I can say that I've really improved. I've really solved about 70% of the problem that has been pinpointed down by different users. So I can say this is my own project experience so far.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So, these are experiences, and experiences are things that build us as a designer, okay, as a UI UX expert. When you work with different projects like that, times that you just encounter a particular problem and you'll be like, wow, how would I go around this? You might even need to bring some people on board, other experts or other designers, so that you can work together as a team to, achieve that particular thing. So experiences are things that build us, that makes us strong as a designer. Yeah, thank you very much for that wonderful experience that you care to share with us. Thank you very much. We really appreciate. Now over to you, Mr. John. Do you have any recent experience that you want to share with us regarding probably your design thinking or the process that you pass through to solve a particular problem, or probably maybe you are even working on a product currently? So what are your experiences with designs with products?
I think Mr. John is not online.
Okay, he's not online. Oh, probably
Yes.
network or thereabouts. All right. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming around. We've really, talked about a lot regarding user experience design. And then we've been able to talk about the fundamentals. At least we've been able to talk about the UX design process. And then someone have been able to talk about the wireframe also. And then we have talked about a little, if not all, about research, why research is compulsory. And then we have also talked about your high fidelity design, the final thing that you design to the final thing that you design, the final design is your high fidelity design. So I really want to appreciate everyone for coming around for this particular edition of Tech Talk. Mr. Belumi Makinde, I want to appreciate you. Thank you for coming around for Smart Tech Talk 7.0. Ayoades, I know our interaction designer. Thank you for coming around for Smart Tech Talk 7.0. And Mr. John, I especially also want to appreciate you. Thank you for coming around for Smart Tech Talk 7.0. We hope to have you some more time, probably to talk about maybe some other aspects of of UI UX, so that we can dive deep more into what UI UX is all about, and then so we can even share our experiences just like we have done today, so that people, maybe upcoming developer or upcoming designer, or even people that are designers also can learn from our experiences. They can know the problem that we pass through, our design process, our own approach to solving problems for a particular organization. So all these things are things that we need to share to the public, so others also can be enlightened regarding UI UX, so that they can be enlightened about how the design process that they also should follow before they can come up with an outstanding design. So I want to especially appreciate everyone for joining this Tech Talk. Mr. Philip, I see you. Thank you very much for coming around. Miss Adirisola, thank you for coming around. Miss Adijumoke, thank you for coming around. Mr. Peter, thank you for coming around. And every other person that might some have been coming, going. So, and every other person that has joined, I want to especially appreciate you. Thank you for coming around for Tech Talk 7.0. We hope to have another Tech Talk next week. Next week, I hope to also still see you for that Tech Talk. So thank you everyone for coming around. Stay blessed, and till next Tech Talk, keep on bouncing. Thank you.
Okay, sir. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, sirs.